Hey guys, so I wanted to make another video on basically just tips on guitar recording. I've learned a lot over the last several years of actually trying to record music and actually making covers for YouTube or just myself. Um, I used to always wonder why my guitars never sounded really polished or really professional, I guess you can say. And I'm just going to basically give you some tips on how to get closer to that. So as you can see, I have this cover that I was working on from the last video that I put out. And as you can see, I don't have any guitars recorded. I don't have anything except for the drum track. And I'm going to go ahead and show kind of how I used to record guitars and how I started to record the guitars. So my signal chain is really simple. I just have a clip just to amplify my DI a bit because my signal's a little low. The amp plugin, I have some simple EQ, multi-band compressor to help tame that low end, and a bit more compression as well as some more EQ. I'm going to go ahead and get that started, so let's record 2 takes. If I can actually play on cue. Alright, so that was 1 take. I'm going to go ahead and record the take for the left side now. So as you can hear, that was pretty not good. That's kind of the point. It was supposed to not sound completely tight. So I wanted to show, I mean, obviously, as you heard, the guitars were completely off time. I'll play it again just solo. Not as off time as I intended. But, I mean, if you play this with the drums, you can really hear the timing differences. And so, basically, what you want to do is you want to really practice playing to a metronome, because that'll basically let you get better at actually playing really tight and to the grid. And so when you're programming drums or when you're editing drums and it's going to be locked to that grid, it's going to be a lot less editing later, and it's going to be a lot less of a headache to figure out why you're not sounding as big or why the guitars are sounding a bit washed out. And so now I'm basically going to go ahead and record this as clean as I can, as tight as I can, as on time as I can to the metronome, and I'm going to basically just try and make it less noticeable of the timing difference, because there's always going to be some kind of human error in your recording. But I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So let's give that a shot. Totally did not play the same thing as the first time, but that's okay. I'll do the left side now. So that was was kind of a mess in general anyway because I didn't play it right the first time and I didn't know how I played it wrong the first time. Anyway, that's not the point. So the point would be when you're in Reaper, and I mean you have the you have the sound waves, and what I like to do is I'll cut out a section if I'm trying to get it really tight sounding, and I'll paste it up where the guitars are just so I can, because you know, in metal you're always going to be matching the kick drum, so I like to line it up with the kick drum. And let's see here, I'm just going to give it a quick listen and see what parts need help and which parts don't. So as you can see, there's some parts that are on time, like this one is a little early. I'm going to go ahead and move these, try and see if I can get that easily matched up. So already I hear a big difference. So this was before. And then, since I don't have a redo, I'll adjust that and this will be the after. And for the sake of the video, let's just say I'm being really picky about my timing. You can make several cuts, and like I said, I'm going to base this off of the kick drum. So you can basically zoom in, you can basically zoom in and hold Alt if you're on Windows and kind of just drag it. You want to get the very peak right where you want it to be lined up. You want to keep the pick attack, so there's always going to be a small trail before the transient. You want to keep that. That's actually pretty important. And then you're going to basically do that for the entirety of the take if you're really going to be picky about it. But it's not entirely necessary. I mean, I like to kind of preserve more of my performance than I do try to make it like super tight. But yeah, that's called slip editing, and that is pretty much what all the pros will be doing to all of their tracks. They're going to be doing that to drum tracks, they're going to be doing that to bass, guitar, and so on. So that's how everything ends up sounding super tight and together. But let's say I wanted to have a more polished guitar tone. So what can you do for that? So what you can do for that is, I like to listen, like really listen. Sometimes it really helps to have the whole mix going when you're actually listening to this, because when you hear something and the guitars are soloed, you're not always going to hear it when the mix is there. But if you end up taking it away in solo, sometimes it can actually take away from the entirety of the mix. But for the sake of argument, I'm going to just purely listen to these guitars, and I'm going to listen to some frequencies that I don't like. So I hear a bit of something around here, if it wants to play. And so that's basically surgical EQ. You're just taking away a lot of the weird whistling sounds. Basically, there's going to be a lot around the high, mid to high range. So I know 4K is an awful one that just sounds like, it's just ear piercing. It's awful. Get rid of it. I don't know what this boost was here. I don't know why I tried to boost that, but it looks like I turned it off. But yeah, just little moves like that always helps. Rolling off the low end, so all the really subby subs. some of the boxiness in the low mids. And it's okay to not hear everything. Your ears are going to be more developed than mine. Some of you not as developed as mine. Mine are pretty not good. But the whole point is you're going to basically get rid of a lot of the stuff that, like down here, that should be bass. Around here, that's where the root note of the kick tends to be for my mixes. And luckily, that's also the boxiness of the guitar, so I cut that anyway. Boosting some high end so it's not so dark sounding, and then just compensating those terrible frequencies by cutting them a bit further. Another thing that you can do is multiband compression. So if you're doing a lot of, you can see that it's dynamically basically compressing or EQing that low end. So it's not going to be overwhelming in the mix. It's going to sound really consistent with your open notes. And it sounds really, really consistent and nice that way. And then, I mean, I just have some extra compression. I can probably do without it, but I just like to have it on anyway. It's just for a bit of extra glue. And then some final touches with EQ. Just looks like I'm dipping out a bit more of the mids, boosting a bit more around like the pick attack area, so you can actually really hear the guitar pick, I guess. And yeah, I mean, that's basically it. I'm not using this at the moment. For my old guitar tone, I kind of needed it just to kind of smooth it over. But yeah, that's not going to be very necessary right now. And that's basically my entire guitar chain. I mean, if you've heard my solo music that I've made, this is basically all I did as well. And I like to think, personally, I like to think that it's not that bad. So yeah, just some things to keep in mind about slip editing, about playing in time, about keeping it as consistent as you can while you're playing. It's all these things together, they're gonna make your guitar mixes and your mixes in general just sound that much better. Alright, so that will be it for this video, so I'll see you guys next time.